This weather pattern change is going to bring a big flip across the country with cooler than average air on one side, warmer than average air on the other, and of course, there's going to be storms in between. In fact, some impactful ones are on the way through the rest of this week. In this video, I've got the details on the pattern ahead from those temperatures and storms to what we could see brewing in the tropics as we go through June. Thanks so much for being here with me at One Nation Weather. As always, the model maps that I use throughout my videos are from WeatherBell. You can check out a free trial link to them right down there in the description. And of course, if you want more consistent, accurate, and easy to understand forecasts in the future, and you are new to my channel right now, you can hit that subscribe button down below the video. And of course, anyone can always turn on those notifications after subscribing as well to never miss a forecast when I post. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into this here, taking a look at future radar for what we've got going on the rest of this week and a little bit beyond. You can see as we head towards our Tuesday, May 4th of 2024, the day after I filmed this video, we're looking at a lot of showers and thunderstorms expected to develop over a lot of the country from parts of the central United States, even to the southeast. You can see we've at least got some generalized thunderstorms over a lot of the southeast, but you could definitely see those deeper greens from parts of Minnesota, some areas of Wisconsin here through the late day Tuesday and into the evening time frame, all the way back down here through the south central plains, where a lot of these storms will have the potential to get at least on the stronger to even maybe severe side of things, with damaging winds, some hail, and maybe even a couple of tornadoes not out of the question, especially if you're going up there heading out of Kansas and Missouri towards parts of Minnesota. That's where some of these storms will have the potential to, at least in isolated to scattered fashion, be on the stronger side. Now, in this area I'm circling here as we head towards Wednesday, June 5th of 2024, in the late day through our afternoon and into the evening, just like we saw on Tuesday, we'll see more thunderstorms fire on up. These will be a lot weaker, though, overall from the trends that we're seeing right now on the models. So from parts of Texas, the Gulf Coast, all the way up there towards parts of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, we will likely be seeing some thunderstorm activity here on Wednesday. Most of it sub-severe with rain, lightning, maybe some gusty winds on the heavier side out of some of these storms. By the time we go towards Thursday, this system weakening even more. It's going to be sitting over the Great Lakes, bringing our next cool down in that I'll talk about in just a minute. You can see from Wisconsin all the way on over to Maine, some scattered showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms getting in on the mix. Really Thursday, this is going to continue into Friday as well. On the southern end of this front, on that southern periphery down here from parts of the Carolinas, Florida, especially the coastlines of these states, back on towards the west and parts of Oklahoma and Texas, along this Gulf Coast corridor into the south central United States, a few scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible late Thursday. Then that might be possible again on Friday overall as this front lingers around, but I think we're taking a brief break with a lot of dry weather and cooler weather for the eastern half of the United States until we start to see new precipitation develop, especially over the plains that could eventually try to slide eastward out of there, heading into the end of the weekend, into early next week around the June 9th, 10th, and on the onward time frame. I think it's a little too far out to be too concerned about that. So let's break down some of the setup with our current pattern. Looking at that mid-level jet stream, 15 to 20,000 feet above your head here in America, on up there into the sky. Looking at what we've got going on this week as we head towards our Tuesday specifically here, you can see we've got this piece of energy on the jet stream riding on out of the Pacific Northwest, moving its way into the north central plains. This is going to help fuel that severe weather threat Tuesday late day and into the evening and even the middle of the night hours here from parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, back down to at least parts of the central plains, even some south central zones getting in on the severe weather. You notice that green and more vertically oriented part of that trough, as it's called there, moving on through parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota that I just showed a moment ago. That's what's helping to fuel the severe weather Tuesday. But by Wednesday, with what I'm hashing out now and drawing the arrows for, you can see that we've got, yes, some stronger flow and a quite strong belt of, even some 85 to 95 knot mid-level winds here heading towards late Wednesday. But what we don't have here moving from parts of the north central plains towards the Great Lakes is any appendage or curl of any, positive or negatively tilted manner. That's what we look for normally some of our more significant severe weather events. So really, as we close out the week, there's not going to be too much in the way of significant severe weather. Even as you can see this upper level low in that gray area there, that's why we've got the winds swirling around it, and especially underneath it there from parts of the Great Lakes region southward towards parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeastern shores of the United States. All of this setup is going to bring, honestly, some cooler air to a lot of the United States as we close out the week behind the front, and that front is really not going to be too potent once we get beyond Tuesday's storms. That's the good news here. But nonetheless, out ahead of this front, you can see where the storms are going to be sparking day by day based on where the moisture is located in relation to where it is less moist. So as you can see here, towards the west of this area, I'm circling here, late Tuesday, June 4th of 2024 in the afternoon here. Notice on over there towards parts of the Rockies, heading on out into parts of the central and north central plains, at least a little bit there, especially in the Dakotas. We've got drier air, dew points in the 30s and 40s. That's not conducive for severe weather. But in the area I just had circled, 60s, even some low 70s trying to get going for dew points. That's just your moisture content in the atmosphere. That clearly shows to us that we've got a big abundance of just that storm juice getting going northward. Again, though, we just don't have necessarily the atmosphere still, even with that trough that we've got over the north central plains Tuesday, potent enough for severe weather. That especially goes as we go towards Wednesday. A broad, warm sector with lots of moisture from parts of Texas and Oklahoma all the way up there to the northeastern United States. Will we see any big development on it on Wednesday? No. Will we see any big development in this on Thursday either? Probably not. Again, there could be some localized spots where we see some severe weather. Will tornadoes be a big threat? No. Will damaging winds and hail even really be a big threat? Probably not. So that's the good news here as we close out our week here, as we head towards the end of the week, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th of the week. Probably not looking too significant there for June 5th through 7th, like I just mentioned. ONW severe scale goes from 1 to 7. We are going to be using 1s, 2s, and 3s for the next few days here on the scale. 1 meaning low certainty, but with a few severe storms appearing possible if you're in that area. 2, that's where it's mainly a wind and hail-driven, isolated severe risk. 3, an increased risk for some more scattered severe weather, and that could even include the threat for tornadoes. And that's what we've got up here over parts of Nebraska, heading into Iowa, and especially into Minnesota as we head towards Tuesday, June 4th. You could see in that dark green area, really from northern Oklahoma and northern Arkansas all the way up there to Minnesota and Wisconsin. This is where I think there will be some scattered swaths of damaging winds, hail, and even the potential, again, especially in that focus yellow corridor of a few tornadoes. There's that potential there. Also on down there towards Texas over to Mississippi, we'll be watching a localized zone there as well, I think, for some more isolated to maybe even scattered severe weather. Heading towards Wednesday, the primary zone of concern for isolated severe weather goes from the Ohio Valley back to Texas. No big areas to focus on for Wednesday or Thursday, though. That's the good news here, as our overall pattern is not supportive of that, as I've been talking about here. Just a quarter of, again, more isolated severe weather potential, looking likely again Thursday from parts of Oklahoma and Texas on over to the Carolinas and Florida. There will definitely be some storms around in these areas on Thursday. Will it be significant enough to raise concern in most spots? No, other than from the lightning, of course. That can always strike and kill you if you're not careful. So definitely don't be outside in lightning if that is going on there within these thunderstorms throughout the summer. But let's, on a more positive note, talk temperatures here and look over at the temperature anomalies here. Let's take a look at what we've got going on as we head towards the middle of this week. Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, 5 p.m. From California to the South Central Plains, a lot of spots about 5 to 15 degrees above average according to this model. And I think the GFS does a great job at painting a picture of what's going to happen as we head towards the very end of the week. Look at this. Heading towards Friday in the afternoon, we're looking at a lot of spots cooler than average in the temperature department, especially if they're heading out of the Dakotas on over towards the Great Lakes region. I think Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, on up there towards Michigan and even parts of Pennsylvania, New York, some of these zones, surrounding areas as well. This is where we're going to have the focal point for some of that cooler air heading towards the closeout of the week. Temperatures around 10 to 15 degrees below average. That's pretty substantial. Meanwhile, back in the western United States, from Colorado, Wyoming, all the way over there to California and Oregon, there's a lot of spots around 10 to 20 degrees above average. Some local spots in those higher elevations where it's abnormally warm. Some of those spots 25 to 30 degrees above normal. And really, a lot of this cooler than average here in the east, that will continue with the pattern as we head towards the end of the weekend. You can see that's probably going to keep our severe weather chances down at least through Sunday, with 5 to 10 degree departures for areas from Minnesota and Wisconsin to the mid-Atlantic, and warmer than average in a lot of the west. And this pattern looks to continue. We'll see if any brief systems can slide through that early next week, like I was talking about at the start of the video. Certainly looks like a possibility, and that could bring down more cool air towards the middle part of the month. But let's talk daily high and low temperatures here. Starting Tuesday morning, June 4th, 2024, 60s for a lot of spots in this area I just circled, but the closer you go down here towards the Gulf Coast, it is downright warm. South Central Texas waking up to low to mid 80s in some spots. That includes Houston, yes, down to Corpus Christi, these spots. With the humidity, it's going to be feeling probably like 90 when you wake up in the morning, and by the afternoon, it's even worse there. Even up here in the Great Lakes, in the spot I just circled, plenty of mid and upper 80s for our Tuesday afternoon. Other areas I'm circling here, down south of this line, first of all, and really in these areas I'm circling and filling in, from parts of California, southern Nevada, through a lot of Arizona, far southern New Mexico and eastern New Mexico, into western and central Texas. Lots of spots in the 90 to 100 degree range. Check weather.gov for your local temperature forecast for the day, because I can tell you it's going to be quite hot in a lot of places. You'll need to drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. Not as much on up there in the north central United States, where there's going to be 70s, as I was just circling there moments ago. On the side of this front where it's cooler on up there in the 50s in the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wednesday, it's going to be nice. In the morning, we're seeing 60s and 70s south of it, with more 80s down there towards Texas. In that area, I drew the line on Wednesday. Here we go towards Wednesday afternoon. There we go. You can see that front really north of that line. The front's been acting. South of that line, not so much. And you can see plenty more 90s to go around in this area Wednesday afternoon from the high plains to the southeast. more 80s and even some 90s and triple digits on over here in parts of California, Nevada, Arizona. This is only going to strengthen in a lot of these spots with even some 110 plus degree readings in local spots around Las Vegas and Phoenix as we head towards the end of the week. Heading into our Thursday here in the morning, some of these areas I just circled in Missouri and Illinois, on over there towards the mid-Atlantic coastline, lots of 60s and 70s here. Look at this, these areas circled in California and parts of Nevada, any of those circles, and then in the afternoon, boxes. Those are indicating a record warm temperature. So record warm lows in the morning, record warm highs in the afternoon in this spot I'm circling in the black there from California over to parts of Utah, as well as into Arizona. This is very dangerous heat that's going to build up as the end of the week progresses. So please make sure you're staying tuned to local officials, weather.gov, all the sources you need to stay cool, and of course drink plenty of water, especially if you don't have air conditioning. On up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, a lot nicer. I hate to say it for those of you listening in the Southwest, but in 60s and 70s in the Great Lakes, it's going to be pretty nice there. More 50s on up here in the North Central United States for morning temperatures on Friday. Meanwhile, down here south of this line, there's a lot more 60s. And this is kind of normal for this time of the year for things to be warmer in the south, a little bit cooler in the north at times, but it is not normal for it to be this hot in the west. And that continues towards Friday, June 7th of 2024. Still a lot of spots here. In this area, I'm circling in the 80s and 90s. Even some triple digits down there towards Texas and some parts of Oklahoma Friday. Down there in the southeast, more 80s and 90s Friday afternoon. It's just north of this little trough right here. And, I call it a trough because it's that little swirl that's going to be making its way into the eastern United States to finish the week. This is not a severe weather maker, of course, but what it is bringing in is that cooler air, as I've been talking about. 60s, some 70s in a lot of the Great Lakes, and especially there in Michigan where I just circled. Saturday in the morning, some cooler to warmer temperatures depending on whether you're north or south of that line I just drew. Towards the afternoon of our Saturday, June 8th of 2024, a lot more spots in the grays and deep reds filling in with the heat. A lot more spots in the northeastern quadrant of the United States staying in those yellows and oranges, meaning there's more 70s to go around. So again, hopefully you've been able to kind of pinpoint your location, even if I didn't directly mention you on that map. Let's look a little bit further down the road here towards the 6 to 10 day range. June 9th through 13th, that's what we're looking at with the temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. If you're in the blue, looking cooler than average, especially from Iowa and Missouri on over to Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. If you're in the red, you're looking warmer than average, and that's a lot of the Gulf Coast and the West, even down the line as we head towards the mid-month time frame here. Again, this is the 9th through the 13th we're looking at. These are pretty accurate maps a lot of the time. I still think we could have above average precipitation in some parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and surrounding areas here if we get a storm system between the 9th and the 13th. So this might be a little inaccurate if that ends up happening, but for now, trust this Climate Prediction Center graphic and know what your area was on that map just now. For that time frame, moving on to the 8 to 14 day time frame, so June 11th through 17th, this is what the Climate Prediction Center is highlighting. Look at this, a similar pattern continuing, so we might see another storm try to slide on through and keep this ridging in the west, troughing in the east pattern going as we head towards the mid part of the month. I digress from that, though. That's something for another video. Let's move on to my news segment I'm introducing into my videos here called 2 Minutes of Tropics. It's probably going to end up being more than 2 minutes in a lot of cases, but today we'll keep it around 2 minutes. June 3rd, 2024's update. What we're talking about today, that's the main focus that's always going to be in the bottom left as I start the segment. Trends to watch into mid-June, and yeah, that's what we're talking about here on One Nation Weather. Now that we're in hurricane season, it's important to keep everybody updated along the Gulf, southeastern coast of the United States, all the way on up to Canada, even in the Caribbean islands, all these spots. Important to keep everyone updated, and you can see as we head towards June, they're coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, the northern Caribbean, all the way on over there towards the east coast of the United States. That's actually a common track starting in the Gulf, heading towards the east coast of the U.S. That's a common track for tropical development in early to mid, even to the late part of June. And you could see exactly on this map right here for typical tropical cyclone points of origin, according to the National Hurricane Center. From 1851 to 2015, you can see from parts of Texas, a lot of the Gulf Coast, that's where we see some of these red dots indicating some origins of tropical systems. Then those progress towards the northeast in most cases, being carried along fronts in a lot of times. And that happens along the mid-Atlantic shores of the United States. Now, why this is significant, I see the potential for this to happen sometimes as we head towards the middle of the month. And here we go, looking at 5-day precipitation anomalies starting from the 5th through the 10th of June of 2024 here. From the Caribbean all the way out here towards the central Atlantic, looking above average by even 2 to 3 inches of precipitation for the 5-day range there. heading towards mid-month. But what you're going to notice here on this ensemble system, which is just a collection of models averaged out into one, look at where these greens start to shift towards as we head towards the 10th through the 15th of June, which is what you're looking at right now. That quarter where we tend to see development above average in precipitation, even above seasonal averages for tropical conditions and precipitation. There's more of that there, from especially the central Gulf and far north central Caribbean around the western tip of Cuba, all the way up there towards Massachusetts and the shorelines there of the East Coast. So that probably means, one, that a front's coming through, but two, that some sort of low pressure system might at least try to ride the southern part of that. So I'd be especially concerned around the Gulf Coast for something like this to get going as we head towards probably after June 10th. Based on the current setup. Now, again, it's very uncertain when this would be, very uncertain how large this would be, very uncertain if this will even happen at all. There's a lot of uncertainties this time of the year, and really with tropics all the time of year, whenever you're talking about it. So just keep an eye on this. This is the minimum pressure out of any member in the ensemble collection I just showed you. And, you know, there are some outliers that show this kind of thing going on. So it wouldn't be impossible for there to be a system, let's put it that way, as we head towards mid-June in the Gulf, heading towards the East Coast of the United States. So I want everybody to stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay tuned with me here at One Nation Weather for anything weather related. That's it for this video. Have a good day, everyone.
One Nation Weather.